Preparing to draft an argumentative essay. In today's tutorial, I will show you how to get ready and get organized to draft an argumentative essay. Drafting an argumentative essay. First, let's talk about the argumentative essay and why you write it. It is simply because you need to take a stance on a certain topic, build evidence in favor of that topic, and convince or persuade your audience to accept your point of view. For you to sway your audience in your favor, you need to have a compelling argument based on evidence. And that evidence must come from a variety of sources. Under normal circumstances, you must find those sources yourself. But in the context of middle school, the sources will come along with the essay prompts. For this practice tutorial, we are going to focus on the following prompts. Should animals be kept in zoos? Now, I know that almost immediately some of you might say, yes, animals should be kept in zoos. On the other hand, some of you might say, no, animals should not be kept in zoos. Either way, your choice, option, or claim is a bit premature, just ahead of time. Why? It's very, very simple. You have not conducted any research yet, and you need to make sure you have enough evidence to support your claim. Therefore, it's time for you to explore the sources. Here they are. Now that you have your sources, you must consider using different highlight colors to select the evidence. You could use yellow to select all the evidence supporting a yes position, meaning animals should be kept in zoos. You could use green to select all the evidence supporting a no position, meaning animals should not be kept in zoos. Additionally, you could use cyan for evidence that you're not sure of where it falls, or for inspiration to begin your introduction or any other paragraph. These, of course, are just suggested colors. You can use whatever color you prefer. However, I recommend light colors so you can read your text easily. Dark colors will put some strain on your eyesight. Now I'm going to model the experience behind exploring the sources and finding the evidence to support the yes and no claims, just to determine which way the essay should go. As you can see on this screenshot, I have selected plenty of information or evidence in source 1 to support a yes claim, meaning animals should be kept in zoos. And on this screenshot of source 3, you can see selected information or evidence to support a no claim, meaning animals should not be kept in zoos. As you can see on this screenshot of source 4, I have used other highlight colors for what I would call maybe. That is information that I might or might not use. Information that might support a yes or no position, or the counterclaim I will debunk later on. With my highlights complete, now I have to figure out, maybe even count, how much evidence there is in favor of keeping animals in zoos, and how much evidence is available in the sources on why animals should not be kept in zoos. Whether or not my initial claim was yes or no, the amount of evidence must determine which one will eventually prevail. For the sake of this tutorial, let's assume that yes, is the winning claim because there is an abundance of evidence. Now I must go ahead and check my yellow highlights in the sources to find 3 reasons why my claim is the right option. I must clearly write down where those sources or reasons are located, specifically which source and which paragraph numbers. Every reason must have enough supporting evidence. Every piece of evidence must also be located in which source, in which paragraph. All of these will allow me to draft a great essay with a convincing argument and do it fast enough. Okay, at this point, I have a claim. Yes, animals should be kept in zoos. I also have my reason 1, which will be described here in sentence form. And you can also see the location of the reason and the evidence supporting that reason. I want to clarify that S stands for source and P stands for paragraph. Those are the letters I will use just for planning purposes. For the sake of this tutorial, they will not be referring to real sources and or paragraphs. Here is reason 2, which also shows the sources and paragraph numbers. And here's reason 3, also showing the location of the sources and paragraph numbers. Now, this is mostly the structure of the argumentative essay, but I am missing at this point I will discuss all of these components next. The introduction must be one of the most difficult sections in any essay for anyone to write. Why? Because you probably lack inspiration, and that makes it almost impossible for you to find a hook or a grabber to catch the attention of your audience. But I'm here to tell you that the lack of inspiration can be resolved by finding ideas in the sources themselves and writing down the source and paragraph number they are coming from. Then you just need to put your own spin into these ideas. And these ideas will help you create the hook you need to attract your reader's attention. Once you do this, you're ready to write your introduction. Do not forget to include your reasons. Yes, they belong in the introduction. You present them in the introduction and will later on expand upon them in the next 3 paragraphs. Let us go back to the structure of the argumentative essay one more time and see what I've got so far. I have the claim. Now I have the introduction with the location of a possible hook, plus the fact that I know that the reasons are going to be in this section. I have reason 1 clearly spelled out and with the location of the supporting evidence. I have reason 2 with the same things. I have reason 3 also with the same things. However, I've got nothing yet for the counter-argument or counterclaim and the conclusion. After the introduction, the counter-argument or counterclaim section is perhaps the second most difficult section to write. But here's how you can do it quite easily. Since I already know that my claim says, yes, animals should be kept in zoos, I will now find the evidence pointing to no, animals should not be kept in zoos, which in this case is highlighted in green. Now I will select a counter-argument or counterclaim that I will be able to debunk successfully. Now, there are several ways to begin writing or introducing the counterclaim. A common argument against this position is that, admittedly, some would argue that, although it is true that, despite the opposition's belief that, in spite of the opposition's position that, Opponents would argue that. Others would argue that. Some might argue that. The opposition would argue that. While it may appear that. While it may be true that. While some researchers say that. Let us go back to the structure of the argumentative essay again and see where I am at this point. I have the claim, I have the introduction with the location of a possible hook plus the fact that I know that the reasons are going to be in this section. As you can see, I have reason 1 clearly spelled out and with the location of the supporting evidence in one paragraph. I have reason 2 with the same things, also belonging in another paragraph. I have reason 3 also with the same things and in another paragraph. Now I have the counterclaim located in that source and the debunking evidence in that source as well. However, I've got nothing yet for the conclusion. Okay, let's see how we can address the counterargument or counterclaim. You may select any of the provided statements covered earlier and immediately include a paraphrased counterargument, followed by the source. Note the period at the end. You can also introduce the paraphrased counterclaim this way. Source 2 says, the paraphrased counterargument or counterclaim, and, or, according to source 2, and the paraphrased counterargument counterclaim. On the other hand, you can decide to quote the counterargument or counterclaim directly this way. Source 2 says, here's the direct quote and counterclaim, par 8. According to source 2, the direct quote, counterargument or counterclaim, paragraph 8. In addition to par 8, you can also use para 8. No matter which word you decide to use, each must be in lowercase format. Alright, so I have my counterargument, counterclaim section almost ready to go. All I need at this point is to debunk it. And for that, I will use any of the following phrases. However, when you look at the evidence, it becomes clear that, however, the evidence clearly indicates or states or shows that, however, the evidence overwhelmingly supports, however, the evidence points to. You probably noticed that all of the previous statements started with however. Additionally, you can use the following to start the debunking process. Nonetheless, yet, be that as it may, despite that, on the other hand, still, and but. Here's an example of a counterclaim and how I could address it. Notice the introduction to the counterargument or counterclaim highlighted in yellow and the debunking sentence with the starting phrase highlighted in green. A common argument against this position is that zoos drive animals crazy by confining them. If they don't die of boredom, they snap and revert to their wild nature. Source 3, paragraph 5. However, the evidence overwhelmingly shows that zoos with well-designed wide-open spaces and strong protection programs can contribute to the well-being and breeding of the animals and the education of the public. Source 3. The only section that's now missing from the argumentative essay structure is the conclusion. But how do I write the conclusion? There are several ideas out there. The first one is to restate my claim, paraphrasing it slightly. Reiterate all of the reasons I came up with by summarizing them and offering some insight that should leave my audience agreeing with my claim. but there are a few things that must not make their way into the conclusion under any circumstances. The first one has to do with the claim. Do not introduce it. You already did that in the introduction. Just restate it. Do not present any new evidence. Try to avoid words such as in conclusion, in summary, or in closing. The reason for this is that these phrases are both redundant and unnecessary and also use too much, way too much. I said earlier that in conclusion, in summary, or in closing are not to be used in writing a conclusion. There are many alternatives available. Notice that a comma follows each of them. Check them out. Finally, overall, ultimately, in essence, in short. Upon reflection, upon review, upon consideration, to conclude, all in all things considered, as a result, in a nutshell, in the main, in other words, in the end, on the whole. So it seems that, upon further analysis, upon further review, after all is said and done, as you can see, at the end of the day, considering all the facts, in the final analysis, in light of these facts, taking all of this into account, to bring things to a close, to bring things together, to sum things up, to wrap things up, to wind things up, upon analyzing the facts, with this in mind. Am I ready now to start drafting the essay? Let me see. I have the claim. I have the introduction with the location of a possible hook, plus the fact that I know that the reasons are going to be in this section. I have reason 1 clearly spelled out and with the location of the supporting evidence. I have reason 2 with the same things. I have reason 3 also with the same things. I have the counterclaim located in those sources and the debunking evidence as well. And I finally know how to proceed with my conclusion. Well, yes, I'm ready to write this argumentative essay. Oh, wait a minute. There's something else. Every paragraph needs one. Some sentences need one as well. What is that? A transition or transitions. They are important because they link paragraphs and sentences within paragraphs, help the audience move smoothly from one idea to another, introduce agreement, purpose, result, and a few other things. But the most important job of transitions is to develop coherence among the different ideas expressed in the essay. They help bring these ideas together as a unit. Here are some of the most popular or widely used transitions, and they are, by no means, all the available transitions. Take a look. In the first place, not only, but also, as a matter of fact, additionally, although, on the other hand, above all, in reality, even though, nevertheless, regardless, instead, for this reason, for example, sources. And this is the end of this tutorial on preparing to draft an argumentative essay. Thanks for watching.